apart and there's no one near you, get close together because we're going to be working with the person next to you. So, you know, it's time to move close to somebody right now, okay? Very good. And the person that I'm going to introduce has become a dear friend of mine, as all of the presidential directors are. It's amazing. Club you joined here. But I'll tell you, when I first met this young lady, I saw her on stage, and I was sitting way in the back, and this blonde lady gets up. She looked like a Barbie doll. And I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to learn from this girl? But I had an open mind. And she turned me on to the first real wonderful book that I read as a recommendation, Take Shape for Life, The 4 Agreements. And it was just an amazing thing, and from that point on, and as the years went on, Whitney Kell has not only been an excellent speaker, but has become one of my mentors in Take Shape for Life. So I would love to introduce Presidential Director Whitney Kell.
Well, hello, everyone. Has anyone ever made a mistake before? And you made a mistake, and then you promised yourself you would never do it again, and you did it again. How does that feel? What do you guys go through when you make a mistake? For me, the first thing I do, if anything, oh, did that come up? Okay, we're supposed to do it. Okay, I better watch this while I do it. Is blame. And I'm going to leave the mic runner now, Kelly. I really am going to try something that I don't normally do, but this is going to be really interactive. So I'm going to ask you guys, would you be willing to play full out? Yes. Yeah. So we're going to do this together. You're actually going to be working in this workshop. So blame for me looked like anger. I'd make a mistake, and the first thing I do is I look for Greg. I was drinking a cup of coffee, true story, on the way here in the airport, and I'm drinking a cup of coffee, it spills all over me. He handed it to me, and I thought, because the thing was turned around, you know, where you're supposed to drink, so it dumped all over me, and then who do you think I blamed first? What went through my mind? Greg. So what I want to ask, in 1 or 2 words, would you share with me, so anyone, what blame feels like for you? What's that feeling when you make a mistake and you blame somebody, or someone blames you?
Just tell me this is what you're asking, but I know that for me, what kind of goes through my mind is like, it's like a protection of myself. Like I feel so messed up about what I did. It's like, if it isn't somebody else's fault, then that's bad news for me, right? Because it's like this self-preservation of like, it can't just be what I did. I mean, yes. Somebody's got to share this, right?
Right, because it's uncomfortable when you make a mistake, so you're looking outside yourself for what went wrong. Yes, and then justify. So this is all below the line. This is emotional energy that I've learned that I go through, and I paid attention to the steps. So what's the second lowest energy form that we do? Do you guys ever justify your behavior? Have you ever talked to somebody who justified what they did? And how does that feel? Will someone share? So someone made a mistake, you know that they made a mistake, and either you called them on it or they started justifying that mistake. Oh my gosh, yeah, I know I took your client, but they didn't tell me that they were working with you, or how does that feel when someone justifies?
It just kind of makes it worse. Kind of like hitting the hammer on the nail, hitting it deeper.
So it gets more uncomfortable. As they're justifying, you're getting more, how do you feel about it when they're doing that?
Icky.
Icky. I like that word, actually. Icky. Anyone else? I'm sorry, you can say your name, too.
I'm Ala Ladd. Distrust
Distrust.
with that person
Yeah.
is the first thing that comes to my mind.
Absolutely. Would you guys agree with that? So this is the one I'm big with. I'm really good at beating myself up. And the 4 agreements, Ken, thank you. What a beautiful introduction. The 4 agreements was a big part of helping me start to listen to my self-talk. Anybody else blame themselves, beat themselves up? Anybody else harder on themselves than anybody else could possibly be? So Kelly, one more time, I don't know where you went. Blame, or I'm sorry, shame. Who else has done this and what does it feel like? Anyone ever shame themselves? You do a presentation, you start to beat yourself up, whatever the consequences may be.
I think shame to me is just like self-loathing, you know, like why did I do that? Like why am I not better than that?
Yes,
Just
why not that?
holding yourself to a higher level than maybe you're currently at.
Holding yourself to a higher level than maybe you're currently at. Yeah. And feeling badly because you're not there.
Exactly.
So you're beating yourself up. Anyone else? You can choose, Kelly. I mean, I will if I see you.
I think it takes a lot of energy to say those things to yourself and to feel that shame.
Yeah.
And so for me, whenever I recognize it, which is not always obviously, but it's like, why don't I take this energy of making myself feel so bad about this and just turn it around and start anew instead of just wasting so much of my energy being upset and angry at myself.
I just want you guys to see. So down here, this is called below the line. So this is wasted energy. So when I'm blaming somebody, when I'm justifying my behavior and I'm feeling bad and beating myself up, can I learn? Or am I just focused on the black dot? What's wrong? It's getting worse. And I've got all that emotion. You know, people get emotional when you're communicating with them and you can feel it. Or you're doing it because you're so upset because you made a mistake. So the energy below the line is wasted. What's above the line? Let's say it together. Responsibility. Taking responsibility. So how does that feel when someone takes responsibility? I screwed up. Yes, I took somebody and talked to them and tried to send them. I'm so sorry. I stepped on your toes. And they own it. How does that feel? Much better, doesn't it? So do you think there's any possibility to learn while you're below the line? While you're emotional, while you're going through those emotions, can you learn? What if I told you the faster you were willing to make mistakes and the quicker you were willing to move from here to there, above the line, the faster your business, your life would learn and grow, where you would start to feel better faster because you were okay with the fact that you made mistakes? What if that was possible? So how do you do it, though? And let me ask you a question. If someone's afraid of making mistakes, what happens? They don't want to feel this emotion. They know they're going to do it, so what do? They don't take action. They don't do anything. They're so freaked out. They're not willing to move forward. So what I've learned through the process of being in the opportunity to work with so many people, to have this experience each time with my emotions, is to start asking questions. Because that's what moves me from shame, blame, and justify. When I ask myself questions, because we can always think of something that went well, you know, or something that's great about that person, and finding that gratitude and connecting with what went well, and making a list of what went well longer than any other part of the list. Because would you agree, even if you totally botched something up, there is something that went well. You were breathing, you are in the United States of America, you're blonde, brunette, redhead, whatever, you're alive, right? There's always something to be grateful for. So if you can start practicing those questions, you can move much quicker through, and once you become aware of it, now I know I do those things, I know I need to switch to questions. So questions have power and can move you through the process. Okay, I want to talk about today's outcomes. Well, like I said, we're going to play full out. So I have asked one of Morley to assist me today. We're going to do a live demonstration of how I move someone through the trilogy. And then you get to do it with each other. And we're going to have an A and a B. You're going to do it with one another. And then you're going to give yourself feedback on how you did it. You're going to give each other feedback. Because I'm asking you to do it in 2 minutes, I'm going to need someone to lend me their, because this is almost dead, I'm going to need someone to lend me their phone or that would be willing to do the clock. Anyone? Yeah, it's going to be me. Okay, so what I realized, is if I'm gonna ask them to do it in 2 minutes, you and I are gonna have to do it in 2 minutes. So I'm gonna take you through the process in 2 minutes of how I would sit down to coffee with someone or how I would present the trilogy. And we're gonna do the client path and the coach path, and then we're gonna talk about honing your empathetic coaching skills. And I'm gonna start with that. Not yet, almost, sorry though. I didn't mean, I was just introducing you, letting people know
You
you're
said
coming
2
up.
minutes, I'm like, oh.
No, not yet. So what kind of coach are you? In one word, and Kelly, can you put it in the mic? I'd say I used to be pushy, controlling. What about you? What kind of coach are you? Now I would say I'm empowering. I know some team members who are, what is it called when you do it for them too much? Okay?
I'm too nice and too pleasing, I think.
So would you be enabling?
Maybe.
Okay. So that might be an area that you could look at and see how you could stretch and shift into being more disciplined with the way that you coach.
I'm a very passionate coach. Sometimes that gets me into trouble because then I come across aggressive, but it's just my passion for what I love.
Beautiful. Thank you. So this is basically out of the health coach guide. This is something to really take a look at and to take a look at your personal coaching skills, right? This is self-assessment. How do we coach? Where are the areas that I can see that I have some opportunities to grow and learn, and then get clear on what those are and work with your coach to improve it so that you can grow as a coach. I mean, that's what we're all doing. You want to get better and better at what you do. So the question is, are you curious or attached when you coach? I've been pretty attached. You're going to be my next executive director. You're going to, that's what I'm going to make global. Back in the day, I would be really attached. You didn't have a choice. Senior coach is what we were doing. Oh, you have 3 kids and a busy life. It didn't matter. So has anyone in the room ever felt forced or manipulated? How does that feel? And what about getting pushback or no response? When you're, and let's put ourselves in our Take Shape for Life hats. So who gets a little pushback or no response from clients? Anybody else? And how does that feel? You know, here's what I want to frame that up as. If it's not a pattern, if it's one in every few, it's not a pattern, is it? But if there's a consistent behavior that there's people pushing back and not wanting to work with you, I think it kind of starts to tell the story. And if somebody's trying to control you, you can tell because they're attached to what they're asking. Have you ever heard of loaded questions? So have you ever said, why can't I get them to executive director? And you realize that the way that you're coaching isn't curious? We all have parents, right? Did your parents coach you curious? Or were they attached to you going to the college they went to? Were they attached to you having a belief system that they have? Were they attached or were they curious? What do you want? How many people had their parents ask them when they were young, and I hope there's some people in the room, what do you want? A few people. Wonderful. That's really nice to hear. No one asked me that. So I had to relearn in this business on how to be curious, not attached. Because my relationship with everything is there's an attachment. If I do something nice for you, I have an expectation in response. So let's assess your results. Emotional Intelligence 2.0 would be After the 4 Agreements, is what I love that book. I'm still working on social awareness. It has helped me tremendously. But you want to assess your own emotional intelligence because that's about relationships, right? If your coaches want to spend time with you, it's a good indication that you are emotionally intelligent. And I think, honestly, about emotional intelligence, by the way, I'm starting to see that's a key factor in the leadership. Not only in my own life, because I've actually walked through it and experienced it, but the new leaders that are coming on, you hear them in front of the room, and I thought, oh my God, I was sweating when I first started. Amber did beautiful on stage. You know, you hear, Amber did a beautiful job on stage. Yeah. So seeing that and then looking back to where I was is pretty uncomfortable. But knowing that there's a tool that you can all have if you practice it is powerful. Okay, so this is what I did. I asked my friends and family and asked them for feedback, including Greg, of course, on my social awareness and emotional intelligence. How many people have taken the quiz in the emotional intelligence book? You have to buy the book. Quite a few people. Did you enjoy it? Would you recommend it? Say yes.
Yes.
So do you think maybe everybody should benefit from that if we're all speaking the same language sounds great. What is it?